And finally, this week, we have a new employee. Lynda Clarizio joins us as the Executive Vice President of Corporate Development and Operations. Now, as many of you have seen, whenever we make an executive change at AppNexus, it seems to get out all over the news. So I thought, why don't we bring Lynda up here so she can tell you her story at AppNexus. Lynda? So, Lynda, I was thinking back to the first time we met back in 2008. Lynda was the president of advertising.com.
That's right.
And we had just started AppNexus. And I thought to myself, you know, advertising.com really has led in the development of real-time bidding back in the MySpace client-side days. And I thought to myself, I should go down there and see if advertising.com would be interested in using the AppNexus cloud platform. And so I showed up. You know, we have different memories of this. I recall being very convincing and compelling about, you know, why the cloud was the future of advertising.
Well, my version of it, Brian, is that, first of all, your email got lost in our spam mailbox, so you showed up on our doorstep with a skateboard saying that you were here, and I got a bunch of emails from people in the company saying, Brian O'Kelly's here to snoop around to see what we're doing. But, you know, we were nice people in Baltimore, so we sat down with you, and that was the beginning of our relationship.
Exactly. And I did not bring my skateboard today, just for the record. I'm now banned from skateboarding. So, you know, one thing that really was exciting for me from the outside was watching you take advertising.com from a relatively small company to a very large organization while you were there. And so I think some of those same lessons might apply to AppNexus at this stage of our growth.
Great. And first, I just want to say hi to everybody. I really feel like I've come home to the world of digital advertising. When I joined advertising.com in 2006, it was about the same size that AppNexus is now in terms of the number of employees. And over the 3 years that I was there, we went through a rapid period of expansion and growth. We tripled our revenue, and we tripled the size of the company, and opened offices all over the world. And we had a very simple mission to be the world's biggest online advertising network, using our optimization technology to drive efficiencies and to maximize performance in online advertising. And I learned a few things from that over the 3 or 4 years I was there. And you talked about a little bit of it earlier. First, that you really need scale and volume to drive innovation in ad technology. And ad.com had that. AppNexus has that today. You know, why is it important? I mean, you talked about it earlier. Without that scale, you really can't have the means to do the continued investments that you need to do for the benefit of your clients. Second, I learned that it was really important to embrace the startup culture and values of ad.com, that was critical to the success of advertising.com. And as the company grew, it was important not to abandon those values, but to embed those values in the company as it grew. So that's what brings me here today. And as I said, I really feel like I've come home, because AppNexus, to me, is at a really key inflection point right now. We've attained huge scale in real-time bidding, and now we have a huge opportunity to leverage that scale to drive continued innovation in automation for the buying and selling of digital advertising. So that's why I'm here.
That's great. We're really glad to have you. Now, you spent the last 3 years at Envision. Talk a bit about what you learned in the world of TV.
Right. So I've been in the television ad tech world for the past 3 years, leading Envision. And I went into the television part of the industry really for 2 reasons: to learn and to drive change. And what did I learn? I learned a few things. You know, first, I learned that television remains a very robust market. It is an over $60 billion market in advertising, and it's continuing to grow. And it's a good thing, and I was surprised by that. I also was surprised to see how efficient a market it was. In some ways, in many ways, it's much more efficient than the digital advertising market. There are very simple metrics behind it, measuring audience, measured by Nielsen. And the entire part of the television ad tech market really runs by audience guarantees. And the ad tech there is all about what you need to do to make sure the advertising meets that guarantees, and to plan and schedule the advertising to meet those guarantees, and also to do shortfalls if you don't hit the guarantees. So that's what I learned. While this was going on, the television industry is undergoing massive transformation, as you know. Consumers are consuming not only television now, but video across multiple platforms. And we've really reached a time of media convergence. And actually, that was one of the reasons I went into that part of the industry, you know, to begin with. It's actually a bit of an irony for me. I was part of the team that put together the, I guess, ill-fated merger of AOL and Time Warner in 1999. And if you remember, I don't even know if people here still remember, that merger was really all about media convergence. That was the strategic premise behind it. And we're sitting here now 13 years later, and that's become a reality. So that's great from the perspective of consumers, but from the perspective of technology, there's a huge opportunity really to put the technology together to enable and facilitate that convergence. And that opportunity is really to build a video advertising infrastructure that it can enable the buying and selling of video advertising across multiple platforms. But what I saw in the industry is that the pace of innovation in television ad tech is painfully slow. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the big broadcast television networks run their ad sales businesses still on IBM mainframe computers, but like from the 1960s or something like that. So in my 3 years there, I became convinced that the television side of the ad tech industry, the pace of change there is not fast enough to really embrace this media convergence. So I've come back here. Like I said, this world is all about innovation, driving innovation and driving change, and so I'm happy to be here. Sorry for the long answer.
That's a great answer. Now, your title is very long, and AppNexus is not really into titles. Mine is short, CEO. Yours is Executive Vice President of Corporate Development and Operations.
Yes.
I thought we'd talk for just a second about exactly what you'll be doing at AppNexus.
Okay.
So first off,
well, you're my boss, so you decide.
That's true.
Yes,
so well, you really have three mandates. The first one is corporate development and business development.
So well, first. For many years, a lot of you may know, I ran corporate development at AOL. And so I'm actually really excited to be able to take that experience to build a dedicated corporate development team here at AppNexus. And I think there's some people here in the audience. Andrew Kraft is going to be working with me to do that. So what does corporate development do? I mean, really three things. One, big strategic partnerships. AppNexus has already done several big strategic partnerships, as you know, with Deutsche Telekom. The next panel is going to talk about our partnership with Deutsche Telekom. We have a big partnership with Microsoft Advertising. We want to do more of those. So this team is going to be focused on doing that. We also want to look at possible joint ventures, particularly to fuel international expansion. When I was at advertising.com, we launched a very successful joint venture in Japan, and that was the best way we thought to enter the Japanese market. And last but not least, acquisitions. We want to use acquisitions more aggressively. We both want to do that in terms of growing AppNexus. Acquisitions, as you know, can be very, very important, and often you can get into a market much faster through an acquisition, or do a product build much faster than doing something internally. So that's what we want. Those are the three things that we want to do with that group.
Yeah. Secondly, we have legal and policy.
So legal and policy, another thing I've done in my long career is I was a lawyer, and I haven't talked about that much publicly. I was a partner for many years in a Washington, D.C. law firm, and I'm sort of a reformed lawyer now. So I think I'm pretty well suited to take on the legal role. But the most important part of legal and policy is policy. And as you know, policy is very, very important in this industry now, particularly as it relates to online privacy and the need to ensure openness and competition in the ad tech space. So we want to take a leadership role in doing that. AppNexus wants to take a leadership role. It's critical to the future of this industry. It's critical to all of your businesses out there. And we don't only want to take a leadership role, we want to drive standards that we can then embed in our platform so it's easier for you to do business.
That's right. And then the third thing, which I think you have an extraordinary background in, is we think of as people operations.
Right.
It incorporates human resources and other things.
So people operations is what we're calling human resources, because people, and you had it earlier on slide, AppNexus has an amazing technology platform, but that platform would be nowhere without the people behind it. And I talked earlier about advertising.com and the importance of the startup culture there as the company grew, that it wasn't just a startup culture, it was a culture that was critical to the success of the company. And that's really what we want to do with people operations at AppNexus. I've only been at the company a few days, but I've seen in the short time I've been here that we have a great culture of innovation, that we're scrappy, that we think big, that we defy convention, and that we're all about working together as teams. So now, what I want to do is really, take that and marshal that as the company grows. To take that culture, to embed that culture as the company grows and expands. And I think we want to make AppNexus the best place to work, certainly in New York, and the place that attracts the most diverse talent and the most talent here in New York. So I know those are big goals, but what I've also learned since I've been here is we like to think big. So that's what we want to do, and I hope you agree because you're my boss. So.
Yes, I definitely agree. All right, well, so very happy to have you. Thank you so much. Everyone, please welcome Lynda in the break.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Oh, and thank you. And I warn you all, Lynda is a hugger. She will hug you. She threatens all the time. No, that's good. It's good. Just letting you know, if she hugs you, it's normal.